Man, I just love the vibe of this place. This place is a proper engineer's paradise. As automotive enthusiasts, we all love to see our cars perform and our cars being driven hard. But a very few of us actually realize the amount of engineering, dedication and hard work that goes behind creating those builds. I am here at a very special place, which is an engineer's paradise. This place is D&O Motorsport, and before I show you the crazy engineering that these guys do and the passion that they do it with, I'm going to quickly show you around the builds that they are currently working on before we get into more details. So even if I just quickly pan my camera around, you will get an idea of the kind of crazy stuff these guys are working on. And just to begin, this particular M4 is the craziest because forget the wrap, forget everything else. This M4 is here just for development of parts and development of things that they are doing. This car actually doesn't have anything. Just imagine, this is a workshop where they have an M4 just for developing stuff. That's the kind of level these guys are crazy at, and that's the kind of level these guys work with. Okay, moving on to this side, we have a BMW E46 which is getting mated with a 2JZ, the Toyota Supra engine. This is kind of what you can say D&O Motorsport and Karan Shah Motorsports signature move, where you have Supra engine mated to a E46 chassis. A match made in heaven, way before the current generation Supra came out. Then over here we have a Defender 110. This one is getting a Corvette LS3 swap. The best part about these builds is the kind of customization they do. Like, there are a lot of people out there who would attempt to mate a Corvette engine to a Defender body and a Defender frame. That is, I won't say the easy part, but that is something that has been done quite a lot. But the interesting thing, the really unique thing these guys do is they make a lot of the stuff on their own. Like, for example, this transfer case you see over here, this full billet aluminum piece has been made in-house by them. Then a lot of the rest of the components that ensure that the chassis of this car sits and mates perfectly with the engine, where the engine's alignment, the engine and the transmission alignment has been done properly with the rest of the car. So basically these guys work on very small and minute tolerances, and what that does is it gives that kind of an accuracy where when these kind of builds are completely done, the mating of this engine with the rest of the body is in such a way that you have the lowest amount of vibrations. You have a setup which is not just powerful and fun to drive, but it is something that is built to last. Then over here we have a Land Cruiser which is getting a twin turbocharged V8. The interesting bit is that this car not only gets the power, but on the inside, of course it's getting worked on right now, so everything is a little dusty, but on the inside it's getting a complete Lexus treatment in terms of its seats and couple of other interior bits as well. Then over here at the back, this is going to be a completely closed out section. Of course, the E46 is not only about the 2JZ, but apart from that, there's also a lot of suspension work that's going on. There's a big kit also which is going to go on the car. Basically the works that makes sure that the car is not just fast, but it's also something that handles very well and is stable. This came in originally as a automatic transmission car, and what these guys have done is within 3 to 4 days, these guys have basically taken off the automatic transmission and they have replaced it with a manual. This car is getting basically ready for a drift setup. The first thing that went on this car is the most essential, which is the manual swap. Once the manual swap, which is already done, now the rest of the things are going to go on the part. The interesting bit over here as well is, because this is the automatic car, the floorboard doesn't have enough space to accommodate 3 pedals. So what they have actually done is, in-house they've developed their billet aluminum parts for the pedals so that the spacing between all the 3 pedals is equal, and there is enough space for all of 3 of them to be placed inside perfectly, while at the same time give the driver enough space to work with those pedals comfortably. This part of the workshop which we just saw is just the start of what these guys do. Now let's go outside and see the rest of the builds. By the way, all of these builds are getting worked on more or less at the same time, and all of them have something very unique, something very bespoke, which has been made in-house to ensure that these parts all work seamlessly with each other. Let's head out and see more. Then of course over here we have the infamous E46 with the LS swap drift build. This is their in-house car which they keep on taking to the Thane Raymond's racetrack, or the drift track rather. I was in this car a couple of days ago with Bad Boy Drifts and D&O Motorsport. We drifted this car, mad drifting car, of course. The most effortless drift car that I have driven till now. Reason being, it's got a massive 400 plus horsepower V8 sitting in front. It's got a beautiful chassis which is inherently balanced in such a very nice way, straight from factory. On top of that, the rest of the build parts that have gone on this car, a lot of parts that have been made in-house. They've been designed and developed in-house. One of the most important things these guys have done with this drift build is ensure that it has the right weight bias. Of course, when you put a big lumpy V8 at the front, the weight bias kind of shifts over here. But the way they have put the engine inside is that they have actually made custom mounts so the engine sits a little behind. So it's actually sitting behind the axle, which kind of shifts the weight towards the middle. Then what they have also done, by the way, they run simulations for all of these things way before anything is already fitted in. That gives them the chance to become a lot more accurate with the build. The second thing what they've done to ensure that the weight distribution is correct is that they've shifted the radiator and cooling all the way back over here. Of course, they have also developed a complete air intake system, custom designed and developed specifically for this build. What this massive air intake duct does is it keeps the temperature of this car so low and so well maintained that even when you're drifting this car, first gear, second gear, in Mumbai heat, doesn't heat up. This car does not heat up. This is one of the most ideal drift builds that you can ever imagine yourself to be. This is one of my dream drift builds. Of course, a little difficult for me to afford right now, but I wish this was standing in my garage all the time. One more of these. This is another E46 which is getting fitted with a Corvette LS swap motor. So along with it also gets Bilstein suspension upgrades, big brake kit and the rest of the work. This is, by the way, not exactly a drift build. They are making this car to be used on city. This is going to be a normal street driving car with some mental horsepower. This is again a in-house project. This is Omkar's personal Fortuner which is getting a V8 swap very soon. Also over here we've got all the cars from Bad Boy Drifts. They've basically parked their cars over here because they're going to come back next week and they're going to run another drift session with these cars. Cars are over here getting a little bit fixed, getting patched up, getting ready for next week's event. But as I promised you, the list of incredible builds does not just end there. If you look over here, this is a Chevy Nova which is also getting a big block engine. This is the parts are already ordered, some of the parts have already arrived. Rest of the parts are going to be on this car very soon. And then again, there's going to be a lot of custom billet parts, custom 3D printed parts which are going to be developed in-house specifically for this build. Over here, another beauty, one of the cars that you would imagine to see in a day. I am actually really waiting for this build to be completed because this is going to be a beauty. This, as you can see, is a BMW E30 chassis. And of course, just like every other car in this workshop, none of the engines are stock. This of course gets the S58 V8, which means this car is going to be 400 plus horsepower on a very light, very classic E30 chassis. I cannot wait for this build to get ready. This is going to be a beautiful car. Let me just see if I can quickly show you the engine. Look at that. Look at that monster. That monster is going to be wild. Naturally aspirated V8 in such a light chassis. Now, the beauty of all these builds is, of course, it's an engine swap. It's got the S58, lots of horsepower and everything. But the beauty and the intricacy of this build is the engine mounts. A lot of the components of the transmission, everything, the way they've been fitted. The components have been developed in-house. The billeted parts, like for example, the subframe, the mount for the transmission, the way the adapter works with this chassis, everything has been built in-house. They've developed those parts specifically for this very meeting of this engine with this chassis. Man, I really can't wait for this car to get ready. Then over here we've got a typical American classic Chevy Silverado, which is, by the way, a station wagon. I love station wagons. We need more of this. Sadly, in India, we didn't get a lot of station wagons, but I wish we did because these cars look awesome. Typical American station wagon getting completely restored, again with a lot of custom made parts. Those are the massive ass wheels that these guys have ordered for this car. A lot of other parts getting ready to be put back onto the car, and for this car to soon get its street creds back. Wow. Man, I just love the vibe of this place. This place is a proper engineer's paradise. The things that engineers actually think and imagine that they'll do one day actually happens all the way over here. These guys do everything from hardcore 3D printing work to custom made billet parts. And it's not just that, it's just that the level of engineering and the level of passion that runs so deep with these guys. Like I was sitting with Omkar, who's the co-founder of this place. I was sitting with Omkar and he was showing me the kind of level of detail in which they go to design and develop each and every part for each car. Of course, all of these parts are custom made. Of course, all of these parts are bespoke to that one very car. And that's the kind of effort and that's the kind of passion these guys put behind their projects. You know, when somebody says that time is not of importance, you know, when somebody says that money is not of importance, it's the level of detailing which they want to get into with all these projects. That is what excites them. You know, you've come to the right place, and this is what D&O Motorsport is all about. These guys take their time because, of course, developing bespoke parts for cars is not simple, it's not easy, it's not a fast process. The way these guys develop parts is such an intricate process where it all starts from a simple 3D scan where the car, the parts, its components all get 3D scanned. They come onto a software. On that software, then they start developing that particular part. Then they run simulations to understand how that part is actually working with the rest of the components around it. It's a very intricate process. By having a look at it, when these guys was explaining it to me, just by having a look at it, it was very involving. I can just imagine these guys doing this day in, day out, and the process is brilliant. If you're an engineer, this is the kind of place you would want to be, right? You have some of the best hardware in terms of cars, in terms of engines from around the world. You have some of the best softwares, and you have people around who've given you a free hand in kind of developing whatever the customer wants, and the customers themselves are the kind of people who want you to make something special. They want you to make something bespoke, unique, something that doesn't have a replica anywhere else. Engineers paradise right here in Mumbai. Man, what an incredible experience this has been. I had never imagined to see a place and to experience what these guys do on this scale right over here in India. Do you like this place? What do you think? Isn't this the perfect engineer's paradise? If you agree, do give me a follow these guys and check out what they do. I hope you like this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.